3 days before Thanksgiving, I found my name on my mother's kitchen whiteboard. Not under family dinner, not under thankful prayer, not even under seating. My name was written in red marker beneath one heading, Kids Room Harper. Under it were 8 children's names, 2 allergy warnings, 3 bedtime reminders, and 1 sentence circled twice. Keep them upstairs until dessert. Then I saw the seating chart taped beside it. Mom, Dad, Brianna, Cody, Cody's parents, Aunt Denise, Uncle Ray, the Millers from church. Everyone had a real chair at the dining table, except me. My name was written at the bottom, folding chair near den. I stood there holding a bag of sweet potatoes I had bought with my own money, staring at my own name like it belonged to an employee. And then I heard my sister laugh from the kitchen. "Don't worry," Brianna said. "Harper never says no." That was when something inside me went completely still, because my family had not invited me home for Thanksgiving. They had scheduled me. My name is Harper Ellis. I'm 31 years old, and for most of my adult life, my family described me with one word: easy. She's easy, my mother would say. Easy to call, easy to guilt, easy to move around, easy to leave out, easy to use. I worked as an elementary school art teacher just outside Columbus, Ohio. I spent my days wiping glue off tables, teaching children how to mix colors, and buying half my own classroom supplies because the school budget disappeared faster than the kids' paint. I was not rich. I was not bored. I was not sitting around waiting for someone to give my life meaning. But my family treated my time like an empty room they could store their problems in. My older sister Brianna was the golden child. She was 36, pretty in that polished suburban way with clean white sneakers, perfect blonde waves, and sweaters that looked casual but cost more than my electric bill. She had a husband named Cody and 3 kids, Jackson 8, Lily 6, and Owen 4. To hear my parents tell it, Brianna was carrying the entire world on her shoulders. "She has so much on her plate," Mom said constantly. "She's a mother," Dad would add. Like that one sentence could end every argument. And me, I was single. No husband, no children, no mortgage, so apparently no real responsibilities. When I was 12, my mother started putting me at the kids' table because I was good with the little ones. At 16, I spent Christmas Eve watching cousins in the basement, while the adults drank wine upstairs. At 24, I missed a friend's birthday because Brianna just needed one night off. By 31, nothing had changed except the furniture. I was still being placed near the children, still close enough to be useful, still too far from the table to feel included. Every other Saturday, Brianna showed up at my apartment with her kids, already dressed backpacks, packed tablets, charged snacks, half-eaten, and shoes muddy from whatever soccer field she had dragged them through. She never asked. She announced, "Harper, the kids have been dying to see you." Then she would kiss the air near my cheek, drop a backpack on my couch, and say, "Cody and I just need a few hours." A few hours usually meant 10, sometimes 12. Sometimes she came back after the kids had fallen asleep on my living room floor, her cheeks flushed from wine, Cody carrying leftovers from restaurants I had only seen on Instagram. "You're an angel," she would say. But she never asked if I was tired, never asked if I had plans, never offered gas money, grocery money, or even a real thank you. And the worst part was, I loved those kids. Jackson drew superheroes with giant hands and tiny feet. Lily made paper crowns and called me Queen Harpy. Owen still said Lello instead of yellow, and every time he did, my heart melted a little. They were not the problem. The problem was that everyone used my love for them as a leash. One Saturday in October, I finally made plans for myself. Nothing dramatic. Just coffee with a man named Ben from the school district office. He was kind funny, and had asked me out 3 times before I stopped inventing excuses. I curled my hair twice, hated it both times, and was standing in my bathroom trying to look relaxed when the knock came. 3 quick taps, 1 loud one. My stomach dropped before I even reached the door. Brianna stood there with all 3 kids. "Surprise," she sang. Jackson was holding a plastic dinosaur. Lily had a blanket around her shoulders. Owen was already trying to squeeze past my leg. I blocked the doorway gently. "Bri, I can't today." Her smile stayed on her face, but her eyes changed. "What do you mean you can't?" "I have plans." "What plans?" "A date." The silence that followed was almost funny. Almost. Then she laughed. Not warmly. "Oh my gosh, Harper. You can go on a date anytime. Cody got last-minute Ohio State tickets. Do you know how hard those are to get? I'm sorry, but I'm not available." Her smile dropped. Don't do this in front of the kids. That was her favorite trick. She didn't argue with me. She made me hurt them. Jackson looked up at me. We can't stay, Aunt Harper. Lily's little mouth turned down. Owen held up a granola bar and said I brought snack. Brianna lowered her voice. Harper, seriously. Some of us have families. Some of us can't just float through weekends doing whatever we want. I felt myself shrinking. I should have closed the door. I should have said no. Instead, I canceled the date. I watched the kids. And that night after Brianna came back at 9:40 p.m., smelling like stadium beer and expensive nachos, she looked around my destroyed living room and smiled. See, you had fun. I shut the door behind her, sat on my kitchen floor and cried. Not because I was sad, because I was furious. And I hated that I was furious at everyone except the one person I should have protected, myself. The next Sunday, I tried to bring it up at family dinner. My parents still lived in the same little ranch house I grew up in. Same crooked mailbox, same faded Bible on the side table, same wall of framed photos in the hallway. Brianna's wedding, Brianna pregnant, Brianna and Cody with their first house. Brianna's kids in Pumpkin Patch's school plays Christmas pajamas. There were photos of me too, but most were old. High school graduation, college graduation. One picture from my first year teaching where Mom had written on the back, Harper finally found her little calling. Little. Even my dreams got made smaller in that house. Dinner smelled like pot roast and rosemary. Dad had football on mute. Mom had made green bean casserole because she said it wasn't Sunday without it. I waited until everyone sat down. Then I said I need Saturdays back. Mom looked up from cutting her roast. What does that mean? It means I can't keep watching Brianna's kids every other weekend. I love them, but it's too much. I need time for myself. Brianna slowly set down her fork. Cody leaned back like he was watching a show. Dad frowned. Harper, your sister needs support. So do I. Mom gave me that soft, disappointed look that made me feel 12 years old. Honey, Brianna is raising 3 children. I know. You don't have children. I know that too. So your schedule is more flexible. I stared at her. My schedule matters even if it's flexible. Brianna scoffed. You teach finger painting and come home to a quiet apartment. My face burned. I teach 26 children every day. And then you get to give them back, she said sharply. Must be nice. Cody muttered honestly. Dad nodded. Family steps up, Harper. I looked at him. When does family step up for me? The table went silent. Not because I had said something cruel, because nobody had an answer. Mom reached over and patted my hand. One day when you have your own husband and children, you'll understand. For now, helping Brianna is good practice. Good practice. That was what my weekends were. Unpaid training for a life I might never even choose. Brianna smiled like she had won. Don't make this ugly, Harp. The kids adore you. Don't make this ugly. Translation, stay useful. Stay quiet. Stay easy. So I did what I had always done. I swallowed the hurt and said, okay. But something inside me did not go back into place. By November, I was already dreading Thanksgiving. My mother called 2 weeks before the holiday while I was sitting in my classroom after school scraping dried glue off a table with a ruler. Sweetheart, she said brightly, we're doing Thanksgiving big this year. I closed my eyes. How big? Well, Aunt Denise is coming with her boys. Uncle Ray and Trish are driving in from Indiana. Cody's parents will be there. And Brianna invited the Millers from church because their kitchen is being remodeled. Such a sweet family. How many people, Mom? 27 counting the kids. 27. I stared at the construction paper turkeys hanging crooked across my classroom windows. What do you need me to bring? There was a tiny pause. That pause was always where the bill lived. Well, Mom said I thought it might be easier if we ordered from Henderson's Smokehouse. Turkey, stuffing, mac and cheese, rolls, pies, the whole thing. Nobody has to spend all day cooking. That sounds good. And since you're doing better than most of us right now, I looked around my classroom, at the cracked plastic chairs, at the box of tissues I bought myself, at the stack of art supplies I had paid for because I couldn't stand telling children there wasn't enough paint. Mom, I'm a teacher. I know, honey. But you're single. Your money only has to stretch around you. There it was. Because I didn't have a husband, my money was extra. Because I didn't have children, my exhaustion was pretend. How much is the order? About $1,200. Maybe a little more with extra sides. $1,200. That was winter tires. That was the dentist appointment I had postponed. That was the emergency savings I was trying so hard not to touch. Can Brianna and Cody help? Mom sighed. Cody's hours got cut. That was a lie. 3 days earlier, Brianna had posted photos from a casino weekend with Cody. The caption said, "Mom and Dad needed a reset. Apparently resets were affordable. Thanksgiving wasn't. Your father's truck needs work," Mom continued. "And honestly, Harper, I just want one holiday where everyone can sit together without stress." Without stress for her, not for me. I should have said no. But Mom went quiet, and silence had always been her way of making me crawl toward approval. So I whispered, "Fine. Send me the order link." Her relief came instantly. "Oh, honey, you're such a blessing." A blessing. Another word for easy. For the next week, my phone became a Thanksgiving command center. Brianna texted, "Make sure there are extra rolls. Cody's dad eats like 6. Then, the kids won't eat green beans. Get mac and cheese. Then, can you bring paper plates too? Mom's nice plates are too much work." "No, please. No thanks. Just instructions." Then Mom wrote in the family group chat, "Harper is handling the food." Cody replied with a thumbs up. Dad sent, "Good girl." I stared at those 2 words longer than I should have. Good girl. Not good woman. Not generous daughter. Good girl. Like obedience was still my greatest achievement. 2 days before Thanksgiving, Henderson's Smokehouse called while I was driving home from school. "Ms. Ellis, this is Tanya from Henderson's. We're confirming your Thanksgiving order for Thursday morning." "Yes, thank you. One quick thing. We're out of pecan pies. We can substitute apple crumb. Would that be okay? I'll check and call you back." I called Mom. No answer. Brianna. No answer. Dad. No answer. That was unusual. My family answered when they needed me. They disappeared when I needed them. So after work, I drove to my parents' house. It was already dark. The neighborhood glowed with porch lights and inflatable turkeys. My tires crunched over dry leaves in the driveway. I still had a key. I let myself in. The house smelled like cinnamon candles and lemon cleaner. I was about to call out when I heard voices from the kitchen. Mom, Brianna, and laughter. I stopped in the hallway. Brianna was saying, "Just put the kids in the den. Harper can handle them. She does it all the time." Mom laughed softly. "I already made a list." "A list," Brianna said. "Good, because Cody said if he has to spend another holiday chasing Owen around, he's leaving early." Mom replied, No. This year the adults are actually going to enjoy Thanksgiving. Harper will keep them upstairs until dessert." Dad's voice came from deeper in the kitchen. "Did you tell her that part?" Mom lowered her voice. "Not yet. If I tell her too early, she'll get dramatic." Brianna laughed. "She won't say no. Harper never says no." My hand tightened around the grocery bag. Then I saw the whiteboard. It was propped against the pantry door. Thanksgiving plan. Turkey pickup Harper. Kids room Harper. Craft table Harper. Dessert plates Harper. Cleanup help Harper. Family photo after kids are settled. After kids are settled, meaning after I was gone from the room. Beside it was the seating chart. Everyone had a place at the dining table. My name was at the bottom. Folding chair near den, near the children, near the noise, near the work. Not beside my mother, not beside my sister, not among the adults. Near the den. My face went hot, then cold. The saddest part was that I was not surprised. Humiliated, yes. Angry, yes. But shocked. Number. Because some part of me had always known. They didn't see me as Harper. They saw me as hands. A wallet. A spare adult. A woman without her own family, so they decided I belonged to everyone else's. I stepped backward, but the floor creaked. Harper Mom called. I forced my face into something calm and walked into the kitchen. Mom's smile appeared too fast. "Oh, honey, what are you doing here?" I held up the grocery bag. "I brought sweet potatoes." And Henderson's called. "They're out of pecan pie. They can do apple crumb." Brianna's eyes flicked toward the whiteboard. Too late. I had already seen everything. Mom smiled wide. "Apple crumb is fine. Whatever you think, sweetheart. Whatever I think. As long as I paid. As long as I served. As long as I stayed upstairs." I looked at the whiteboard one more time. Then I smiled. "Great. I'll handle it." Dad walked in holding a beer and said, "That's our girl. Our girl." I drove home without music. The roads were full of families carrying groceries, bags of ice foil pans, pumpkin pies. Warm yellow windows glowed in the dark. Somewhere someone was setting a place at a table for a daughter they actually wanted to sit with. When I got home, I sat in my car for 15 minutes. Then I called Henderson's. Tanya answered. "Henderson's Smokehouse." "Hi, this is Harper Ellis. I need to cancel my Thanksgiving order." "The full order?" "Yes." There was a pause. "Ma'am, pickup is in less than 48 hours. We can refund half, but not all of it. That's fine. Are you sure? I looked at my apartment building. At the window of my own small home. At the place where I had been tired, used, and still somehow expected to be grateful. Yes, I said. I'm sure. After I hung up, I opened an old text from my college friend Marisol. 3 weeks earlier, she had written, "Come to my aunt's lake house for Thanksgiving. Low-key, loud, too much food. You'd love it." I had replied, "Can't. Family stuff." Now I typed, "Is the invite still open?" Her response came almost immediately. "Girl, yes. Bring sweatpants. We leave tomorrow after work." For the first time in weeks, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I could breathe. Thanksgiving morning came cold and gray. I woke up in a guest room at Marisol's aunt's lake house in northern Michigan. The window looked out over a quiet lake the color of steel. Bare trees leaned over the water. The house smelled like coffee butter and cinnamon rolls. Nobody knocked on my door with children. Nobody handed me a list. Nobody asked what time I was picking up food. Nobody told me to sit near the den. Marisol's Aunt Elena put a mug in my hands and said, "Your company. Sit down." Company. That word almost broke me. Not help. Not backup. Company. By noon, the kitchen was crowded with people chopping onions, arguing about marshmallows on sweet potatoes, laughing over a burnt tray of rolls. A little boy asked me to help draw a dinosaur. I sat with him for 10 minutes. Then his mother came over and said, "Thank you. I've got him now. Go eat something." I almost didn't know what to do with that. Respect can feel strange when you're used to being used. At 1:17 p.m., my phone started buzzing. Mom. I let it ring. Brianna. Dad. Mom again. Marisol looked at me. "You want privacy?" I looked down at the screen. "No," I said. "I want witnesses." I answered. My mother's voice hit me like a slammed cabinet. "Harper, where are you?" I looked out at the lake. "Michigan." Silence. "What do you mean, Michigan?" I'm at a lake house in Michigan. Stop playing games. The food isn't here. Henderson says the order was canceled. That's because I canceled it. Someone gasped in the background. Then Brianna's voice came on sharp and furious. "You did what?" "I canceled the order." "Are you insane? There are 27 people here." "I know. The kids are hungry. Then feed them." Mom grabbed the phone back. "Harper. Whatever you think you heard." I saw the whiteboard. Silence. This time it was deeper. Heavier. I continued calmly. I saw my name next to turkey pickup kids, room craft table, dessert plates, and cleanup. I saw my folding chair by the den. "I heard you say I'd get dramatic if you told me too early." Brianna snapped. "You were spying." "No, I was bringing sweet potatoes." Dad's voice boomed in the background. "Put me on." A second later, he was on the phone. "Harper, you embarrassed your mother in front of everyone." "No, Dad. You embarrassed yourselves. You planned a Thanksgiving where I paid $1,200 and didn't even get a seat at the table. You always twist things." "No." I finally stopped twisting myself. Brianna took the phone again. "You don't know what it's like to have children. You get to run away and play victim while the rest of us deal with real life." "I love your children," I said. "But I am not their second mother. I am not your free sitter. And I am not paying for a holiday where I'm treated like staff." Mom's voice softened. That was the dangerous part. "Honey, come home. We can fix this. Just pick something up on the way. Fried chicken, pizza, anything. People are asking questions." That almost got me. Not the yelling, the softness. The old Harper wanted to rescue her, to drive 6 hours back, to apologize for noticing her own pain. But then I pictured the whiteboard. "Keep them upstairs until dessert." "No," I said. Mom inhaled sharply. "No, no. I'm eating Thanksgiving dinner with people who gave me a chair." Brianna cursed under her breath. Dad said, "You'll regret this." I looked around Marisol's warm kitchen, at people who barely knew me treating me better than my own family had in years. "No," I said quietly. "I think I would have regretted coming." Then I hung up. My hands shook. But not from fear. From finally doing the thing I had been trained not to do. Marisol hugged me. "You okay?" My phone buzzed again. And again. And again. I turned it off. Then I sat at the table. A real chair. Between Marisol and her cousin. With turkey stuffing, green beans, mashed potatoes, and apple pie on my plate. When Elena raised her glass and said, "To everyone who made it here, and to everyone who finally stopped going where they weren't valued," I had to look down so no one would see my eyes fill. That Thanksgiving, I learned something simple. Peace does not always arrive quietly. Sometimes peace sounds like a phone call ending. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 52 missed calls. 34 text messages. The family group chat looked like a crime scene. Mom, call me now. Dad. This was childish. Brianna. You ruined everything. Cody, my parents drove 2 hours for cold sandwiches. Aunt Denise. I don't know what happened, but your mother cried in the bathroom. Uncle Ray family doesn't abandon family on holidays. Then came the photo. Someone had sent a picture of my parents' kitchen. Paper plates, fast food bags, kids running in the background, Owen crying near the couch. And behind them, still visible beside the pantry, was the whiteboard. My name had been wiped off, but not well. The red marker had smeared. You could still see the ghost of it. Harper. For some reason, that hurt more than the insults. Even erased, I could still see where I had been. Then I saw another message from Aunt Denise. Harper, call me when you can. I didn't answer right away. A few minutes later, another text came. I saw the board. My throat tightened. Then another. Your mother said you stormed off over nothing. That was not nothing. I sat down on the edge of the bed. The room was quiet. Marisol's family was downstairs laughing over breakfast. Outside, the lake moved under the pale morning light. For years, my family had made me feel crazy for noticing how they treated me. And now someone else had seen it. Not a lawyer, not a judge, not a dramatic public speech. Just my aunt walking into the kitchen, seeing my name under every chore and realizing the truth. Then Brianna posted on Facebook a photo from Thanksgiving. Everyone crowded around the dining table with forced smiles and paper plates. The caption said, "Not the holiday we planned, but real family shows up." Real family. I stared at those words until my chest stopped hurting and started hardening. Because there it was. Not concern, not regret. A performance. Brianna didn't just want help. She wanted to look like the perfect mother, the perfect daughter, the perfect host. And I had ruined the picture. 30 minutes later, Aunt Denise commented under the post. Is this the same Thanksgiving where Harper was assigned to pay for dinner, watch the kids upstairs clean up, and sit on a folding chair by the den? I read it 3 times. Then came Cody's mother. Wait. Harper was the one paying for the food. Then Mrs. Miller from church. I wondered why there was a whiteboard saying, keep them upstairs until dessert. That didn't sit right with me. By noon, Brianna had deleted the post. But screenshots had already moved through the family faster than the flu at a kindergarten Christmas program. My phone lit up again. This time the messages were different. Aunt Denise. I'm sorry, honey. I should have asked questions sooner. Uncle Ray. I didn't know they put all that on you. Cody's mother, Harper. I apologize. We were told you volunteered. Volunteered. That word almost made me laugh, because my family had built an entire version of me for other people. Helpful Harper. Easy Harper. Single Harper with nothing better to do. But the whiteboard had told the truth they never meant anyone to see. I put my phone down and walked outside. The lake air stung my lungs. Bare branches scraped softly in the wind. The water tapped against the dock like someone knocking from far away. I thought I would feel guilty. Instead, I felt grief. Because standing up for yourself doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you finally admit they have been hurting you. And that admission has a price. When I got home Sunday evening, there was an empty casserole dish outside my apartment door. On top was a sticky note in my mother's handwriting. Wash and return. Not are you home safe? Not can we talk? Just another chore. I picked up the dish, washed it, dried it, set it by the door. Then I took a picture of the sticky note. I didn't post it. I didn't send it. I just kept it. Not as evidence. Not for drama. For myself. Because sometimes you need one small ugly thing to remind you that you did not imagine the bigger ugly thing. 2 hours later, the knocking started. Hard. Angry. Not the knock of someone asking to come in. The knock of someone arriving to collect obedience. I looked through the peephole. Mom. Dad. Brianna. Cody stood behind them with his arms crossed. I opened the door but did not step aside. Mom looked smaller than usual, but her eyes were sharp. Are you going to let us in? Number. That one word seemed to knock the air out of her. Dad's jaw tightened. We are not doing this in the hallway. Yes, I said. We are. Brianna laughed bitterly. Unbelievable. I looked at her. What do you want? Mom held up the casserole dish like it was proof of my crimes. I want to know how my daughter became this selfish. There it was. Selfish. The word they used whenever I stopped being useful. I took the dish from her and set it on the floor beside me. I became selfish when I realized generous wasn't getting me loved. It was getting me used. Dad pointed at me. Watch your tone. I have watched my tone for 31 years. His face reddened. Brianna stepped forward. You humiliated us. Cody's parents were there. The Millers were there. Aunt Denise said she has never seen anything like it. Good. Mom's mouth opened. Good, yes. Maybe next time everyone will ask why one person was expected to pay for Thanksgiving and babysit all the kids. Brianna's eyes flashed. You love those kids. I do. Then how could you do that to them? There it was again. The leash. The children. I felt the old guilt move toward me like a hand around my throat. This time I didn't let it close. I didn't do anything to them. You did. You brought them to a holiday with no plan except dumping them on me. They're your niece and nephews, she snapped. And you're their mother. That shut her up. Only for a second. But it was a beautiful second. Dad shook his head. This is ugly, Harper. No, I said. The ugly part was the whiteboard. The ugly part was you all deciding I didn't need a seat because I could sit by the den with the kids. The ugly part was Mom asking me for $1,200 while already planning to use me as staff. Mom's eyes filled with tears. You make it sound terrible. It was terrible. I just wanted one nice holiday. So did I. The hallway went quiet. A neighbor's door opened slightly down the hall, then closed again. Brianna crossed her arms. You have no idea what motherhood takes from a person. I believe it takes a lot, I said. But it doesn't give you permission to take from me, Cody muttered. This is so dramatic. I looked past Brianna at him. You dropped your kids at my apartment 28 Saturdays this year. You never once asked what I had planned. You never once offered food money. You never once stayed to help clean up. You never once looked embarrassed. He looked away. Brianna said, We're family. We shouldn't have to pay you. You weren't treating me like family. You were treating me like childcare you didn't have to respect. Mom wiped her cheek. I raised you girls to help each other. No, I said. You raised one daughter to expect help and the other to provide it. That one landed. My mother's face changed. For 1 second I saw it. Recognition. Not apology, but recognition. Then pride swallowed it. She straightened. If this is how you feel, maybe you need time away from this family. I already took it. Dad stepped closer. You think you're better than us now? No, I said. I think I matter as much as you. He looked confused, as if equality was an insult. Mom's voice hardened. Don't expect invitations if you're going to behave like this. I don't want invitations to events where my name is on the chore list instead of the place cards. Brianna's face twisted. So what, Harper? You're just done. You're walking away from your own blood. I looked at the sister I had loved. The sister who had laughed in that kitchen. The sister who had turned her children into a guilt trip and called it family. I'm walking away from being punished for not having your life. Her eyes flickered. I kept going. I'm walking away from being told my job is easy. My weekends don't count. My money is extra, and my loneliness makes me available. I'm walking away from being the daughter you call when you need something and forget when there's a seat at the table. Mom whispered. You'll be alone. There it was. The final threat. Be useful or be alone. I looked down at the casserole dish, then back at her. I would rather be alone in peace than surrounded by people who only love me when I'm convenient. Nobody spoke. Dad turned first. Come on, he said. She's made her choice. Brianna glared at me. You'll miss the kids. I already do, I said. But missing them doesn't mean surrendering myself. Mom looked like she wanted to say one last thing. Something dramatic. Something sharp enough to hook into me and drag me back. But maybe she saw my face. Maybe she finally understood the easy daughter was gone. They left. I closed the door. Then I sat on the floor in my entryway and cried. Not because I regretted it. Because it hurts to become free from people you still wish had loved you better. The weeks after Thanksgiving were strange. My Saturdays were quiet. At first too quiet. I woke up expecting the knock. The backpacks. The cartoons. Brianna's voice calling, "You're the best," while already walking away. But nobody came. So I learned what my own morning sounded like. Coffee dripping. Rain tapping the window. My own breathing. I cleaned my apartment and it stayed clean. I made breakfast and ate it hot. I went to the farmer's market. I bought myself flowers. I met Ben for coffee again months later than planned, and when he asked what happened the first time, I told him the truth. My family taught me my time belonged to them, I said. I'm unlearning it. He didn't laugh. He didn't call me dramatic. He just said, that sounds hard. And somehow that kindness felt bigger than any apology my family had ever given me. Christmas came. I did not go home. I spent it with Marisol's family again. My mother sent one text at 8:03 a.m. Merry Christmas. The kids miss you. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, I miss them too. I'm happy to see them when we plan a visit respectfully. I'm not available for drop-offs. She didn't respond, but I didn't chase her. That was new. In January, Brianna showed up at my school. Not during class, not in front of the children. She waited near the front office in a beige coat, holding a paper coffee cup she hadn't touched. When I saw her, my stomach tightened. "Can we talk?" she asked. I almost said no, but something about her face looked different, not soft, tired. We sat on a bench near the hallway where children's snowflake art hung crooked on the walls. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then she said Jackson asked why you don't come over anymore. I looked down at my hands. What did you tell him? That grown-ups had a disagreement. I nodded. That's better than telling him I'm too busy for him. She flinched. Good. I wanted her to remember that. She took a breath. I was angry at you. I noticed. And embarrassed. I noticed that too. She looked at me. I still think canceling the food was extreme. It was. Her eyebrows lifted. I continued. It was extreme because nothing else worked. I tried talking. I tried asking. I tried explaining. Everyone heard me and decided my pain was less important than your convenience. She stared at her coffee cup. I didn't think of it that way. I know. That was the problem. She had never thought of it. My life had been background noise. She swallowed. Cody and I fought after Thanksgiving. I said nothing. He said we probably took advantage of you. Probably. She closed her eyes. Okay, we did. The words sat between us. Small, late, but real. I'm sorry, she said. No speech. No tears for attention. No but. Just 2 words. I waited for the rest. It didn't come. So I said thank you. She nodded quickly. Mom is still mad. I know. Dad too. I know. She says you broke the family. I looked at the hallway wall at a child's painting of a yellow house under a giant sun. No, I said. I stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. Brianna wiped under one eye. I don't know how to fix this. You start by asking, I said. Not assuming, not guilt-tripping, not using the kids as weapons. She looked ashamed. Can they see you sometime? Yes, I said. At a park, for 2 hours, with you there. A sad little smile touched her mouth. Fair. It wasn't a movie ending. She didn't fall into my arms while music played. My parents didn't arrive with flowers and apologies. Nobody handed me back all the Saturdays I had lost. Nobody repaid the years I spent believing love had to be earned through exhaustion. But that day, my sister asked instead of took. And for me, that was enough to open a door. Not the whole house, just a door. The first park visit was awkward. Jackson ran into my arms so hard I nearly fell over. Lily gave me a drawing of me wearing a crown. Owen asked why I didn't bring snacks. Before I could answer, Brianna reached into her bag. I brought them, she said. It was small, but it mattered. She stayed the whole time. That mattered too. When the kids begged to come to my apartment afterward, Brianna looked at me before answering. Actually looked. Not today, she told them. Aunt Harper has her own plans. I almost cried right there beside the swings. Not because the words were beautiful, because they were basic. And when you've lived without basic respect long enough, it feels like a miracle. My parents took longer. Much longer. Dad didn't speak to me until Easter. Mom sent occasional cold little texts with hooks inside them. Hope you're enjoying all your free time. Your father's blood pressure has been high since Thanksgiving. The kids asked why family dinners don't matter to you anymore. I didn't bite. I answered only what was real. Then one Sunday in April, Mom called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I answered. Her voice was stiff. We're having dinner next weekend. I waited. You can come if you want. I almost smiled. Am I invited as a guest or as a job? Silence. Then she said, as a guest. Will I have a seat at the table? A longer silence. Yes. Will anyone expect me to watch the kids? Number. I breathed in slowly. Then I'll come. That dinner was uncomfortable. No one mentioned Thanksgiving. The table had 8 chairs. Mine was between Brianna and Aunt Denise. A real plate was set there. A napkin. A fork. A glass of water. It sounds small, unless you know what it feels like to search for your place in your own family and find yourself written on a chore board instead. Halfway through dinner, Owen spilled lemonade. Everyone looked at me. Old habits. I looked back. Then Brianna stood up. I've got it, she said, and cleaned up her own child's spill. My mother watched me from across the table. I could not read her face. Maybe anger, maybe grief, maybe the beginning of understanding. After dinner, she followed me to the porch. The spring air smelled like cut grass and rain. For a while, we stood side by side watching the streetlights flicker on. Then she said, "You really hurt me." I nodded. I know. I felt abandoned. I turned to her. So did I. She looked away. I continued, for years. Her mouth trembled slightly. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I believe you, I said. But you did. That was the closest we came to an apology that night. Maybe it would never be enough. But I had stopped needing perfect closure from imperfect people. That was freedom too. Here is what I learned. Family is not supposed to be a place where one person disappears so everyone else can be comfortable. Love is not measured by how much you can endure without complaining. Being single does not make your time public property. Not having children does not make your life smaller. And being easy to love should never mean being easy to use. I still love my family. That is the complicated part. I love my niece and nephews. I love my sister even when I remember her laughing in that kitchen. I love my parents even when I remember my name written under kids' room instead of at the Thanksgiving table. But I love myself differently now. Louder, cleaner, with fewer apologies. That Thanksgiving did not destroy my family. It destroyed the version of me who believed she had to earn her chair. Now, when I walk into a room, I don't look for the chore list first. I look for my place. And if there isn't one, I leave. Because dignity does not always arrive with applause. Sometimes it arrives as a canceled turkey dinner, a deleted Facebook post, a whiteboard everyone was never supposed to see, a silent phone, a long drive north, a real chair at someone else's table, and one woman finally understanding she was never the help. She was family. And family deserves a seat. So tell me honestly, if your family only calls you when they need help but forgets you when it's time to set the table, is walking away selfish? Or is it self-respect?